Hello and welcome to a day with me. First up, I open up my planner and realize that the kids didn't take their money for the Great Book Swap. So I had to get my shoes on and walk up to the school. After I came back, I decided it was time to get my day started. It was a rocky start, but we're ready. So I'm just grabbing my collage sheets and cutting out the days. I needed to sit down and just regroup after racing up to the school, and this is a great way to do it. As you know, this is my A6 Appunto and I am currently using a Leuchtturm Slim notebook until next year when I use my Hobonichi Avec. And so I'm just using my collage sheets. I didn't like how the day looked next to it, and I probably won't do rounded days anymore for that very reason. But I use my Hobonichi green stencil to do my checklist and start thinking about where I want my day to go.
Are you going to be home today?
Yes, I am.
You are? And would you be willing to look after a small child for half an hour or so?
Yeah, that's fine. And just like that, my day has completely changed. I've gone from having a huge to-do list to throwing in a small child worth of babysitting. I babysat my niece, who is currently 3 years old, for about 2 hours. And I tried to get as much done in those 2 hours that I could while keeping an eye on her. It is currently 9:53 a.m. and my sister-in-law will not be arriving for approximately 30 minutes. So I had 30 minutes to get as much done as I possibly could before my babysitting duty started. So collage sheets are on my mind. It's getting around that time when I know that things have to start getting finished up, getting scanned, getting edited, and getting created. And this is about the time when I go into hyper mode with collage sheets. And as you guys have seen with the sneak peek last video, that I was doing really quirky watercolor to-do lists. Now I wanted to create some more of those, but in different colorways. So I got out my paints and started experimenting with different color combinations. And then I know that I can sit at my dining room table and sit and do the pen work while watching my niece. The brush I'm using to do this is my Princeton Neptune in the size 14 round. I get a lot of questions when I do my big washes what kind of brush I use, so that is the brush. I wanted to be really carefree with these boxes and not be stuck with straight lines and things. I wanted these to be very organic, as I think sometimes I just don't want to have straight lines. So when I did the first lot, I fell in love with them because I loved how they looked. I knew there was nothing similar out there, so I thought, why not do this and be really different? And that meant my inkies get something different as well. So I'm glad that I'm pursuing this. A couple of the colorways in this I didn't like at all, but that's the whole point of experimenting. There's no way we can discover anything if we cannot play. And of course, my Hobonichi stencil gets pulled out. I would not even attempt to draw those boxes by hand. So the stencil comes in. It is small enough and portable enough to use. I have been using these check boxes in my A6 for the last few months, and I don't find them too small at all. So I hope you guys agree, and I hope you enjoy them because I just think they're so awesome. I'm going to print pages and pages of these, I think, because I just think they'll jazz up any plain planner page. absolutely loving those black vines and leaves that I have been putting those things everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And I thought they looked really cute and elegant on the check boxes. It just made them that little bit different. And I actually went to town on all the check boxes with this print. And I just think it's lovely and dainty and just the right amount of fancy. Now, my sister-in-law has arrived and I moved myself out to the dining room table so that I could still see my little niece and still get some work done, because I have such a huge to-do list. It is stressing me out. So that was my setup for the afternoon of babysitting. This is my little niece Kate, and she loved spending the afternoon with Tia. I have had a couple of requests for numbers with your collage sheets, and I'd been putting it off because I knew what I wanted to do, but I knew how time consuming and hard on the hands it would be. But I decided that this was the month that I was going to deliver. So I decided to start doing some giant numbers, and they will probably stay this size so that you can photocopy them and resize them down to make them smaller or larger. But I wanted to make them big so that they would scan better. And as you can see, this is very time consuming, but it is what I really wanted to do, and I want to give you guys the best and something different and awesome. And if that means that I have to take complete breaks every half an hour because my hands hurt, then so be it. I want to give you everything, and this is what I wanted to do deep down, so I decided screw it. I'm going to give my Inky some fancy friggin' numbers. This is basically what I do every 15 minutes. Stretch, rub, and repeat. When I decided it was time to take a break from the numbers, I thought it would be a good idea to get some of my photographs printed, because I hadn't been journaling in a while and I had a backlog. So if I have the photos printed, it makes it easier for me to journal if I want to journal on the couch. And although I'll probably do a journal with me instead because we need video content, it still means that the photographs are ready to go. So I use PicFrame to put my photographs in that sort of duo shot, and then I use the Canon program to link to my selfie. It's the easiest way and all good. So now it's time to change things up. My hands needed a break, so I decided it was time to paint something for a collage sheet. And I decided that it was going to be one of my blue-haired girls that pop up in my journal. I actually pre-drew her last night, knowing that I needed to do a few things for collage sheets. And I thought that I'd capture it, portions of it, on camera so you can see her come to life. I bought these little paint trays from Eckersley's, and I think they were about $5 and there were 10 of them, or maybe I got them from Spotlight, not quite sure, but they're really, really handy. And when I'm done, I just put them in hot water and let the paint sort of come off really easily, but they're really, really good. And I also bought them for my liquid watercolors, so they're great for that. So as you can see, I am putting in my shadows where the light would create shadows. So when you're painting a face, when you're shading a face, you need to work out where your light source is going to be. Now in a later video, I have had you guys ask me for shading videos, so I will try and get a shading video done for you next month, and I will take you step by step through how I shade a face, and we'll go through where I put my darks and my lights and my highlights, and I'll try and do it step by step for you so that you don't get so overwhelmed. Once you get the hang of it, you can basically shade anything. that's how it is. Once you work out where and how your light is going and where your shadow should be, you can play with colors, you can play with cools and warms. It's really, really easy once you get the knack for it. So a shading video will come next month as requested. So stay tuned for that one. It's really interesting to see your characters in different mediums. So I've done this girl in watercolor, I've done this girl in pencil, I've done this girl in acrylic paint, and I'm doing her again in acrylic paint, but with a whole different look. So it's amazing how different mediums can affect the way you create the same character. So I want to put a challenge to you to draw the same character 3 different ways with 3 different mediums and see how they look, if they change at all. And that I really enjoy this Bluehead girl, and I will be painting her again for YouTube on the cover of an art journal, because I don't know, there's something about her. I just keep wanting to draw her and keep wanting to just keep her around. I don't know, there's something about her, and I really, really love her crazy choppy hair and her striped antlers. There's just something about this girl that just keeps coming back. So I want to keep drawing her in a few different forms, and I think she'd make an awesome children's book character. So that is what is simmering around in my head, and I have totally enjoyed creating her in acrylic paint for you guys. She looks completely different to the way that she did. She looked more illustrated in my Midori, a lot less human, more sort of alien-esque in my Midori, and now with the shading and the eyes and the open eyes in my Midori, she's got one closed eye. It's just really interesting to see how our characters can change just depending on the mediums that we use. So I hope you've enjoyed looking at the way I've shaded her. I know there's not that much information I can give you, but I promise you we'll get a shading video soon. And if it sounds like I'm being a little more quiet than usual, it is actually quite late at night, and my studio is situated between both my kids' rooms. So my room is in between their bedrooms, so they are asleep, and I am doing my voiceover very late at night because the day got away from me and now I am paying for it. So as you can see, I am using some colored pencil. I am also using some more acrylic paint, some watercolor crayons, a watercolor pencil. I had a lot of trouble trying to get the darks to stay not looking so flat, and that does happen sometimes with acrylic paint. They just didn't have as much dimension as I wanted them to have, but I think I got there in the end. And I really, really love how she looks. So I think I'll be exploring this Bluehead beauty a little bit more. But yes, my challenge to you is to draw a character 3 times and use different mediums to color and create them, and see how much they change depending on the medium. So that is my challenge for this video, and I hope to see you guys actually take on that challenge. It's all well and good to watch me create for you, but sometimes you need to pick up your pencil and do a few little things as well. Now I'm just using a black Prismacolor pencil just to put a few defining lines in, a little bit more shading that I couldn't get with the paint, and now I'm going to attack her antlers. I like that my antlers do not match. I like that they're odd shapes. That is the beauty of this girl in her imperfections, and I've always made sure that her antlers are really oddbally, because it's almost like a representation of myself. I am very, very far from perfect, and my quirks are what make me appealing, as my hubby says. So I always try and give my characters some form of weird oddity, and it's always the weird oddity that makes them beautiful. So that is why my antlers never match, why the stripes never match, and why they are not perfectly shaped. I don't try to make them shaped properly, because nothing in this world is perfect, and neither should our art, because there's no joy in perfection sometimes. I think the odd things in our drawings are what makes them unique. It's what makes them ours. It is what makes them beautiful. So don't try and strive for perfect, guys. It only makes you sad. And this is her all finished, and I'm just adding some black highlights to certain sections, making sure the bottom of her hair where it should be darker because it's hanging on her neck, all those little defining lines with a little bit of black Papermate Flare pen, actually, just an odd pen I grabbed. Just last little bits and pieces, and she will be scanned for your color sheets, so never fear. You'll probably get a few acrylic paint beauties in your collage sheets this month. So back to my numbers. I have picked up my kids by this stage. I have fed them, I have done home readers, and I have done homework. It is approximately 4:30 in the afternoon, and it may seem like I have done nothing, but in the process of everything, the in-betweens of filming, I have been doing little bits and pieces, and it is tiring. It was a rough day with running back and forward with school, with the babysitting, and some days I feel like I'm going to get so much done, and then I barely get anything done. And I decided, since it was so late, it was probably time that I should call my mama, because I hadn't spoken to her since we came back from our trip, and my hands were already starting to ache. I was hungry. It was like 5 o'clock by the time I ate. I missed lunch. I worked through my lunch. And there is my mum saying hello. And this is the end of the video, and I hope you enjoyed it. It is time for me to go. 5:30 and I'm having my lunch. It's truly tragic, but that is sometimes the nature of the artist beast. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I will see you guys very, very soon for another one. Bye! But I can promise you now, it probably isn't. But a lot of people said they like my style and they want to see how I attack this, because I said in an Instagram post, I ain't no boho berry, and I'm very, very much not her. She's amazing at what she does. I'm good at what I do, and her style is not one I can copy. I can't do it. I tried it. I sucked at it. So I moved on. One of my birthday presents I received is this coloring book. I did get quite a few coloring books for my birthday. I'm not really a coloring in book person, but this one, my sister-in-law got it for me, and I quite love it. Not for coloring, but more for drawing inspiration. It's a huge book, so I'm not going to get it in frame, but it's got really quirky drawings that I really love, and you know I'm all about the strange and the wonderful. It's got awesome stuff. It's got faces. It's got fashion